friendly faces, Tasha and Alexis. Glad you guys are on, and I'm going to be sharing some information with you guys tonight about information that I wish I'd known when my babies were little about having children and raising a family and feeding them properly. And I think that I think most people want to do what's best for their family and put the right things in their family's bodies, but a lot of people are clueless, and or they're either clueless or they don't have time. And that was my case. I'll tell you my story in just a minute, but just didn't have time to put the right things in my family's body. And I also wasn't aware of how I was being sabotaged by the food industry and also the medical world. And so I was first, probably I would say Pandora's box was opened for me in 2008. I am a physician assistant. I've been practicing medicine for 17 years. I have a master's degree in clinical medical sciences, which all sounds very scientific, and you would think that somebody who has that type of a graduate degree knows a lot about nutrition, but I will tell you, I finished PA school and received my master's degree and knew very little about nutrition. Now, if you came to me and had diabetes or cholesterol or allergy issues or high blood pressure, I knew what medications to put you on. And if I was to go take my board review course, PAs take a board review exam every 6 years. And if we were to take a course, they would ask you questions like, I have a 37-year-old male who has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and has been recently diagnosed with diabetes. What medications can we put him on that won't interact what he's already on? And this is the medical world that I lived in prior to 2008. And, you know, it's just what we were taught in school. And then when I began practicing medicine, I saw patients from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and all day long, saw people with their issues. And I'm telling you, medicine's changed drastically in the last 15 years. In the beginning years, I saw 20 patients a day. Towards the end, I was seeing 50 to 60 patients a day. Healthcare's changed a lot. And, you know, I would see issues and figure out what they were and figure out what medications to give them for their issues. And that's just the way it was, and I thought everything was fine with that. But in 2008, my sister's son was diagnosed with severe autism. And this diagnosis, it was scary. So my sister's son, Bo, was 3 years old at the time, and my son, I had two boys. I still have two boys. They were 3 and 9 months old at the time. And I was sitting there with my sister as the physician told her that her son would never speak, and he didn't speak. He made noises and he screamed a lot, but he didn't speak at the age of 3. The doctor said he will always be in diapers. He said he will never have anything more than the mind of a 3-year-old, and that he would never play team sports. He would always live at home with my sister. My sister Leah was sobbing next to me. And I think a lot of people, when they get news like that, and maybe it's not autism or Asperger's, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's your father has just had a stroke, your son or brother has had a heart attack. A lot of people just go, okay, that stinks. Well, okay, tell me what to do. That's not my personality. I immediately wanted to know, what is autism and how did he get that? I'm 41 years old. When I was growing up, people didn't have autism. I didn't really learn about it in PA school. And so I had a lot of questions about what this little boy's diagnosis was. My sister's son, I had a 9-month-old who had vaccinations scheduled the following week. I wanted to know, was the autism, is it from vaccinations? Do I cancel the shots? Is this genetic? How did he get this? And so I began to do an extreme amount of research. Now, I've been married for 19 years. My husband and I had been married about 11 years at the time. My boys were young. I was working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. seeing patients. I was a busy mom. I think there's probably a lot of busy families on this page. And I was tired all the time. I was tired all the time. I didn't sleep well. I would, get up at 5:30, 6 a.m. and be at the office by 7 seeing patients. I would finish seeing patients at 7 o'clock, but just so you know, those of you that work in the medical world know this, when you finish seeing patients at 7, your work isn't done. We still have to dictate charts and do the coding and do everything else. And so when I got home, it was late and I was exhausted. And, on top of all that, you're trying to feed your family well or to the best of your abilities, but you don't really think about those things because We're all just kind of walking down our little path, right? And so kudos to all of you for being on this page, because I know what the Paris family stands for. I know how they feel about families and health and feeding your children properly and feeding your spirit. And I know what they're teaching and promoting on this site. So kudos to you for, you know, taking that step and even getting on and watching this presentation to learn a little bit more about what am I putting into my bodies and how can I make it easier. I wasn't in that world at all. You know, I was just a mom trying to get through my days. And those of you who have little tiny children, you know what that's like, right? My 9-month-old still wasn't sleeping through the night. So it was not uncommon for me to go to bed at 12:30 and wake up 2 or 3 times at night, and then have to get up at 6 a.m. and go see patients all day long. And so that was my world. And then my sister's son had this diagnosis, and I began to do a lot of research. And so I started to study medical studies, and I started to learn a lot about food. And I'm going to tell you what, that was when it was kind of like Pandora's box was open for me, like a door to another world. And once you learn the things I began to learn that I'm going to talk a little bit about here this evening, about our food and our nutrition, you can't unlearn it. Once I learned what was in Oreo cookies, I could not unlearn what was in Oreo cookies. I can't even eat Oreo cookies anymore, which is horrible because I like them, but I know what's in them. So I began to learn this information, and I started to get freaked out. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Not with the intention of freaking you out, but you guys, we've got to wake up. We are dying off in America. This is the first generation, this generation of children that has just been born is the first generation of children that is not expected to outlive their parents. By the year 2050, 1 in 3 Americans are expected to have diabetes. Do you know anyone with diabetes? It's awful. Autism, Asperger's, ADHD. You know, we think it's normal for by the time you're 50 to be on 3 medications and have had half your thyroid out and your ovaries removed. Because when things don't work in America, we cut your organs out. So we're in this, it's kind of like when, you know, when they talk about putting a frog in water that's not boiling and just slowly gets heated up. I feel like we're there in America. Things are slowly happening to us. And we're just like, la, 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 you know, this is the way it is. And I'm going to hopefully kind of wake you up a little bit here tonight and just make you start thinking and encourage you not to be like sheep. Don't be like sheep. Don't just follow the path down the road, because where we're going is not good. And everything we need is in the ground. And I want to give you some education tonight, okay? So the first thing I started to learn about was the toxins in our air and our food and our water. And that was very scary. I've done a lot of traveling and speaking. Last summer, I was in North Dakota with my friend Teresa, one of the most beautiful states I've ever been in. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it in the summer. Beautiful, beautiful state. And they are a largely farming country, at least in the area that I was in. And one of the farmers, he was an 8th generation farmer, was talking to me about the gas masks that they have to wear when the Roundup doesn't work anymore. They have to spray Roundup plus 3 other gases onto weed killers onto the soil before the seeds are put into the ground. And he was talking to me about that. And that, I started to get very freaked out. I started to poll every room I'm in and said, who in this room has either had cancer or someone in your family is dealing with cancer now? Every hand in every room I went up. That freaked me out. I've been to Iowa quite a bit, doing a lot of speaking, another farming community. If you look at the rivers and the lakes in farming communities, there's stuff this thick on top of the water from the crop dusters and the stuff that's laid onto the ground. And that is why what we're putting into our bodies matters. That 8th generation farmer that I'm talking about had 15 children. And he asked me a question. He said, you know, my oldest kids, we didn't have issues like ADHD. We didn't hear about autism. Now, all of the kids in my younger children's class, many of them have these issues. What's the problem? He just told me about the weed killers. So we have an issue with the toxins in our food, in our air, and our water, things our grandparents didn't have to worry about. Now, I know there's a lot of people who go, well, I eat all organic, or I have an organic garden in my backyard. That's great. So does my mom. My mom literally lives on an organic farm that she owns in North Carolina. She and her husband, they sell goat milk and goat egg and goat cheese and eggs, and all organic. And I'm going to tell you what, when it rains on her farm, where is that rain coming from? You think all the fields around her are organic and don't use any chemicals? I can assure you there's stuff falling on, even when you're buying organic, onto the food supply that you don't want to know about. I'm going to guess that most of us are old enough to have lived through the era in America where we put our food in Tupperware containers, put some saran wrap on the top of it, and stick it in the microwave. Yeah, not good. There was actually a study that came out about 10 years ago showing that over 90% of Americans have the chemicals from the saran wrap in the Tupperware in our bloodstream. We are toxic. Now, we cleanse out the oil from our car every 3 months, right? We make sure to do that because the car manufacturers tell us the car doesn't run properly. It's not going to make it its entire estimated life if we don't cleanse the oil out, but we don't think about our house. We cleanse the air filters out of our house every 3 months. I live in Florida, or every summer I should say, we cleanse out the air filters. If you don't, the air conditioning breaks. But we don't think about our house. In the old days, 100 years ago, if somebody went a day without a bowel movement, they'd go out into the woods and get some sort of an herbal mix, right? If you weren't pooping regularly, they'd get an herbal mix. And I talk a lot about pooping. And I'll tell you, in any pediatric office, they talk about pooping a lot as well. Because if you're not moving through your body, what you've consumed that morning, this is like one big track, okay? If you're eating breakfast, whatever you ate for dinner should be coming out the other end. It's just one big tube. If you're not consuming food and then passing it through multiple times a day, we have a little bit of a problem. And I'm a healthcare provider. There are many patients that I have seen who go once a week, twice a week. I had a girl one time come in who was in her 20s. She said, I go Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. That's when I go. You should be passing all of that you're eating. If you're not, just think about what's sitting down there. The average American has 8 to 9 pounds of junk sitting down there. We've got to cleanse things out. When you don't cleanse things out of your body, your organs don't work the way they were meant to work. And a lot of people think about cleanse, they think about their intestines. But God actually gave us 7 channels that we eliminate through. Our lungs, our liver, our skin, our lymphatic system, our kidneys, our blood, and our intestines. And they're all meant to be cleansed consistently with plants and herbs and food, things from the ground. And we need to be cleansing. And so I started learning this information and was running around. You know, I told you before, I'm working 12-hour days. I have 2 little kids at home, trying to cleanse out my family with juices and cleanses and grapefruits and cayenne pepper, and everybody has an idea of how to cleanse. Have you seen that yet online? It's very confusing. And so I was trying to cleanse. The other thing that I began to really learn about was the importance of, and I just want to end the cleansing portion by saying, you need to be cleansing. If you don't have multiple bowel movements a day, if you need a couple cups of coffee to get going in the morning or in the afternoon, if you need a nap every afternoon or you can't make it without a cup of coffee or a stimulant of some kind, you probably that's like a sign that you need to cleanse. If you are trying to lose weight, and you really feel like you're doing everything right, you know whether you're doing everything right or not, and you can't lose weight, you probably need to cleanse. They're like a fit, like your organs aren't working the way they were made to work. You know, when people say, oh, my gallbladder's got to come out. No, your gallbladder needs to be cleansed. You need to take your gallbladder out. Let's get it cleansed. And then we've got to focus on these 2 other pillars of health that I began to learn about back in 2008. Second pillar of health was balancing, in 2 different kinds of balancing, okay? First, I'm going to talk about balancing your hormone levels and how messed up we are in America. So in America, the average household now has 2 working parents. And, you know, that was my husband and I. We met in college, and we knew we would both work. I'm not going to knock that, and I can't even imagine not working, and nor am I going to knock women who don't work. Whatever you guys have decided, that's fine. But the average household in America, the women who are working and have little kids go to bed 12:30, 1 a.m., maybe get 5 to 6 hours of sleep. It's usually not restful, deep sleep, and they wake up around 5 or 6 in the morning, and their day starts, and they're going to work. They're fixing lunches. They're going to work. They're doing laundry when they get home. They're doing dinner. They're doing homework. They're doing sports, and they're go, 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 go. And you know what they're doing to make it through their day? Stimulants. Coffee, soda, energy drinks all day long, trying to keep themselves going. And then they go charge their phone every night for 8 hours, but they don't, again, think about their body. This is an amazing machine God gave us. We've just been messing it up for decades. And then what happens to the women is they're in their 30s and 40s and their thyroids don't work anymore. How many of you know somebody who have thyroid issues and they're on medications for their thyroid? Or their hair's falling off. They have adrenal gland fatigue. They have chronic fatigue syndrome. They can't sleep at night. They're tired all the time. They're fatigued. They're out of whack. They're not balancing their hormone levels. They're not getting balanced. And you know that in Europe, they take a whole month off every August. They call it a holiday to just relax. In America, you take 2 weeks off and people think you're lazy. You want 2 weeks off? That's crazy. A lot of people don't even take a week of vacation off. Like I have a sister who can't even take off a week. No, there's too much work to do. Can't do that. Can't do that. We don't know how to relax here. So we're supposed to rest on the 7th day, but places like Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A get chastised and made fun of because, oh, they have to take a day off. You know how much money they're losing as a business? We are messed up, and we've got to get balanced. And there's a few different ways to get balanced. That's just one avenue of getting balanced that I want to talk about. And there's a lot of different facets to that avenue. Getting 8 hours of sleep at night, drinking enough water, getting exercise in every day. And I'm not just talking about for you, I'm talking about for the kids too. You know, not being on the screen time all the time. Having a balance in your life, okay? There's that kind of balance. And there's some pretty amazing things that the body can do when it gets the rest and the balance that it needs. But the other type of balance I want to talk about, which is one of those Pandora's box things that I began to learn about back in 2008, was that there was a Nobel Prize won in the 30s, awarded in the 30s. And I think Nobel Prizes are pretty big deals. And the award was given to a man who had done research and found that cancer cells cannot thrive in an alkaline oxygenated cell. This is crazy, right? I'll say that again. A Nobel Prize was given in the 30s for a scientist who found that cancer cells cannot thrive in an alkaline oxygenated cell. You would think this would be being screamed from the rooftops. And I'll tell you what, there are certain groups that are screaming it, and there are thousands upon thousands of testimonies who have beat cancer by getting alkaline and oxygenated. When I learned this information, I got freaked out. I first wanted to know, well, what makes me alkaline and what makes me acidic? And you can go Google right now and pull up foods and things that make you alkaline and acidic. I'll kind of educate you and say coffee makes you acidic, sugar makes you acidic, processed food makes you acidic, dairy makes you acidic, meat makes you acidic. I'm probably freaking some people out right now, and I'm not saying stop all of that. Just be aware. Be aware that if the majority of what you're putting into your body makes your body acidic, your body is stressed out and it's trying to get alkaline, and it's leaching the alkalinity out of your bones and your teeth, and it's making you weak. And you can go on Amazon and get pH strips. My mom does this every time I go to her organic farm in North Carolina. She's like, stick out your tongue. She wants to put the pH strip in her mouth and see if we're alkaline or acidic. And it'll tell you very quickly whether you're walking around alkaline or you're walking around acidic. You know, the majority of bottled waters, these are mostly acidic. Who knows how long this plastic sat in a warehouse, by the way, in 200-degree heat, and what I'm drinking when I drink this stuff. So this is why we need to cleanse. But getting alkaline is so important. And so I began learning about the things that make us alkaline. And I'll basically tell you, it's all plants, plant-based products. And when I was working 12-hour days and I had this little 9-month-old and this 3-year-old at home, and I'm trying to give my nanny instructions on giving them plants all day long, and she didn't want to give that to them because she didn't have the same mindset I did. She thought I was crazy. She wanted to give them sugary cereals and easy things. It was difficult. And my kids, once you've had sugar on your mouth, you want sugar. You're not craving green beans and asparagus. You want sugar. And so it was this constant battle for me. And I was trying to get my family alkaline. And I was fighting myself as well because I want sugar too. But I'd opened Pandora's box. And I'd started to learn about the importance of being alkaline. And so it's important, number one, that you get alkaline. Okay, if there's nothing else you take away from this tonight, go get some pH strips on Amazon. Figure out who in your family is acidic and who's alkaline, and try to be more aware of what makes you alkaline versus what makes you acidic, and try to consume more alkalinizing foods. Okay, so I talked about being cleansed. I talked about balancing your pH, balancing your life, balancing your hormone levels, which can be done. Your hormone levels can be balanced with natural food. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then the third category that I want to talk about is building your cells up with good nutrition. We were made to eat food. We were made to eat food, okay? We weren't made to eat pills and capsules. And, you know, if a doctor says to you and your spouse, let's say your spouse is coming out with a cold, you need to go take some vitamin C. I think we all know that, you know, an orange versus a vitamin C tablet, which one the body knows how to consume and what to do with it, right? We were made to eat food, not Frankenfood. I mean, in America, we're eating French fries, we're eating ketchup, we're eating Lunchables, walk into a kid's lunchroom tomorrow. Go to a school lunchroom. Watch what those kids are eating. I don't care if it's private or public. It's bad. And it's the result of an unbalanced household and uneducation, not knowing. You know, I worked 12 hours a day. This was me in 2007. I worked 12-hour days. I didn't have time to be thinking about all this stuff. I thought we were fine. I had no issues. I thought we were fine. It took my nephew's diagnosis to wake me up and make me start looking for answers. And so people are busy. And if it's not broken, why am I going to fix it? They don't think they're broken. They think it's normal to take allergy medications when you're 3 years old. They think it's normal to be on 3 medications by the time they're 50. That's not normal. It's not normal. People go, oh, well, I'm 50. That's why I've got aches and pains. I'm getting old. No, that's middle age. You're not old. We've got to cleanse, balance, and build your body. So let's talk about building your cells up with good nutrition. I've done this research search multiple times in the last 8 years. If you go start looking at agricultural studies on the nutrition content of our food, of the food that's grown in soil, you will be blown away. One of the most recent articles I pulled up was published by Scientific America, the journal Scientific America, and there's, I think, 4 or 5 studies cited in there. And they're literally agricultural studies that have been cited and listed with the massive decrease in nutritional content, vitamin and mineral content in foods grown in soils now versus 15 years ago. And it's scary. And so again, I will tell you, even in organic soils, even if you're one of those wonderful people who have an organic garden, your vegetables are not what your grandparents would have grown in the same soil. And it's because we were supposed to rest our soils every 7 years in America, and we have not done that. So our soils are depleted of nutrition. Why do you think farmers need to put fertilizers on the food? If you talk to anybody from the Midwest, the farmers fertilize the food, even the organic soil, because they know the soil is depleted in nutrition. So this was the world that I kind of walked into understanding in 2008, beginning to understand there are important nutrients and minerals that my children need in their body, that I need, that my husband needs, that we're not getting. Even though we feel fine and we think we're fine, we're not. And again, once you open that door to that world, you cannot look back. So I began frantically trying to find options. Okay, there was one organic grocery store in my town. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, in 2008, and it was 45 minutes from my house. So on the weekends, because remember, I just told you I worked 12-hour days. On the weekends, I would try to find time to drive over there and go get organic vegetables and organic fruit. Okay. The other thing I would do when I was there is I'd look at their supplements, because at this point I had learned the importance of things like omega-3s, and I'll give you a little briefing on that in just a minute. I learned about the importance of sulfur, the mineral sulfur. I learned about the importance of calcium, all things that were not really being consumed in high amounts in our diet. And so I would go into the health food store and I would look at it was an organic grocery store, and I'd look at the shelf and there'd be like 6 different kinds of, not 6, 20 different kinds of omega-3s. And if you can't tell yet, I'm a very analytical person, and I would look at the shelf and I'd be like, okay, do I get the green one? Maybe the red label with the leaf. That looks nice. I don't know. I couldn't just eeny, meeny, miny, moe it. I just couldn't randomly pick. Some people might go, oh, my mom's used that one forever. I'm going to get that one. I would go home and research, because I want the right information, right? I know there's a lot of companies out there that pay a lot of money for marketing teams to make their label look beautiful and hope that it will sell, right? Or they do commercials and billboards and ads hoping that people will buy it and it will sell, whether it's good or not. And so I would go home and research. And I'm gonna educate you a little bit on the importance of what you're putting into your family's bodies. And then I'm gonna end here in just a few minutes, because I have another live presentation to do in about 18 minutes, of sharing with you what we found. And it was really a shortcut for my family in the beginning, and for us it's become absolutely life-changing. But I'm going to educate you a little bit on the importance of some of the different things you should be looking for to put into your family. I believe everyone should be consuming a vitamin of some sort. It needs to be a good one, and not most of them aren't good, I'm sorry to say. You know, those gummy vitamins that you buy at Walgreens, no, don't buy those. It's no good. If you're going to spend your money on something, you guys, if you're going to spend your money on something, make sure it's the best of what you can get, because you do get what you pay for. And I think that's in all areas of life. Okay, if you're going to go run a marathon, if you're going to train to go do the Boston Marathon, you can go to Walmart and buy a pair of running shoes there. You can. Or you can go get the Asics that are $150. The Walmart shoes are $20. The Asics are $150. Do you think there's a difference? What will happen if you train for the Boston Marathon in your Walmart shoes that were $20? You will more than likely have hip pain, knee pain, foot pain, all kinds of problems. You can go with the cheaper variety, but listen, you guys, this is your house. You're going to live here your whole life. And if you don't care about your house, that's fine. That's fine. What about your children? Do you have children? I know this is an excellent families group. I know most of you have children. They deserve good nutrition. They don't know what they're eating. They're relying on you to give them good nutrition. And I'm going to tell you what, it's not the teacher's job. It's not the doctor's job. It's your job. I met with a woman the other day in a meeting I was at, and she said, I know I'm not feeding my child the way I should. You know, I'm kind of relying on the school to feed them properly. You know, at least she admitted it and was honest about it, and she's trying to do better. You guys, you need to do better. You need to open your ears and start being aware of what you're putting into your children's bodies. Do not give them soda. Do not give them soda. It is liquid sugar. Liquid sugar. So many issues could result from that, will result from that. Teeth issues, issues with their pancreas, insulin and sugar levels, and diabetes and obesity, and oh my gosh. Don't give if there's one thing you take away from this, do not give your children soda, okay? Let's talk for a moment about some of the things your children need. A good vitamin. I prefer liquid. Your body recognizes liquid. It knows what to do with it. It absorbs it very quickly. Okay, liquid gets into your body quickly. It needs to be mainly plant-based. People say, oh, I've got this new thing. It was, you know, cooked up in a lab. They've done all these studies on it. They just, you know, did these, they have all these formulators in a lab, all these scientists, and they've just found this new stuff. I'm sorry. Genesis 1:29 is what I walk by. Everything we need is from the ground. Okay, so if it's not plants and foods and herbs, I'm not interested in that chemical formulation that was brought up in a lab. So a liquid vitamin you should be looking for. Omega-3s I could talk about for quite some time, but I'm short on time, so I'm going to try to give you just a little smidgen. I started really learning about omega-3s with my nephew's diagnosis of autism. And I didn't know about omega-3s before. In fact, I knew that we could prescribe fish oil capsules for omega-3s and that they helped with cholesterol. That's what I knew as a medical provider. As I began to do research on medical studies, I began to find that literally almost every disease we face as humans has been shown to be reversed or prevented with consumption of omega-3s. That's massive. Omega-3s by definition are essential fatty acids. Just the word essential. Just the word essential means you have to have it in your body, okay? That's Wikipedia. You can go search that. That's not me talking. So the more I began to go down this trail of learning about omega-3s, the more I learned how lacking they are in the diet of an American. So in the past, the way most people got omega-3s was from fish, okay? And not everybody eats fish. Lots of people have allergies to fish, and you don't even want to know what the fish are swimming in right now. I mean, really, if you're getting your fish from the Pacific Ocean, watch out. The radiation is coming over through the ocean. That's a whole nother topic. But the fish oil, you just got to be careful with that. In the past, I'm going to even say 10 years ago, the only other source that people really knew of for omega-3s was flax. Well, flax, I started to do a lot of research on it because everything that I pulled up with flax, there were safety precautions on it. Don't give it to pregnant women. Only give certain amounts to children. So I began to do more and more research. Why? Why all these precautions on this stuff? Well, I learned that the flax was used 89 times in the Bible. Never once as a food. Always as a tapestry or a rope. They did not use it to eat. They did not eat it. If we were supposed to eat it, don't you think they would have eaten it? A lot of the flax that we have in the U.S. comes from Canada, and most of that is genetically modified, okay? There's a lot of questions about flax in regards to phytoestrogens and other things, but people were trying to get away from, maybe they didn't like fish or they were concerned about the toxicity of what fish were swimming in, so they were trying to do plants. Well, in 2000, I'm going to say 6, people began to really hear about chia for the first time. And chia is a plant that's high in omega-3s. In fact, a 2 tablespoon serving of chia is equal to 3,000 milligrams of fish oil. Or I should say 12 fish oil pills. That's what that is. So a 2 tablespoon serving of chia seeds is equal to 12 over-the-counter fish oil pills without the toxicities of what comes in the fish. It's a plant. It's a plant. Not all chia is created equal. If it's grown in Florida, it has no nutritional content at all. Agricultural studies have shown that the chia is grown near the equator, about 24 degrees north and south of the equator. It's got high amounts of omega-3s. So it's very important where your chia is grown, but it also has high amounts of fiber, phytonutrients, which are plant cancer fighters, antioxidants. The omega-3s are powerful, you guys. Omega-3s have been shown in studies to help with sleep. I got involved with a study with children in a pediatric office in Gainesville after my nephew's results with the autism, and found that these children who consumed this food, chia, consistently every day for 90 days had increased motor skills, things like handwriting, better focus, better sleep, better pooping, less aggression, better communication. Amazing results across the board from children who consume this. But let me just tell you this, if you're an adult and you're not consuming omega-3s in a high amount every day, your cells are not functioning the way they were made to function. They're not communicating properly with your nerves and your neurons. So if you struggle with any type of nerve issue, you need omega-3s. Everybody needs omega-3s. And if you give omega-3s in high potent pure amount, especially in plant-based source, to a 75-year-old who's never consumed fish, sit back and watch what happens. Decreases inflammation, helps with sleep, helps with focus. This has all been shown in studies. So omega-3s are one thing you need to be aware of. I'm going to talk for a minute about the mineral sulfur. Sulfur used to be used to fertilize our fields with compost and manure. Now they use chemical fertilizers. They have for a few decades. So we are all deficient in this essential mineral. And sulfur helps to, first of all, it decreases inflammation. It detoxifies the liver, but it also helps to lubricate joints and tendons. So if you struggle with joint pain, if you struggle with allergies, asthma, skin issues, skin outbreaks, chia and sulfur are 2 huge things you should be consuming, but everybody should be consuming this every day. I can talk for a moment about some superfruits there have been so many studies on things like noni. Noni that's grown in volcanic soil in areas like Hawaii, Tahiti, Fiji. When you consume noni, parasites cannot live in your blood. If you eat a lot of pork or if you eat a lot of fish, I guarantee you have parasites in your gut. You need to be consuming noni. The studies on noni for breast cancer are phenomenal. If you struggle with reflux, if you struggle with any stomach issues, inflammation, pain, noni will be your best friend. There's another superfruit called mangosteen, grown in Asia, and actually has been shown in studies to decrease inflammation. If you struggle with allergies, the reduction of allergies and asthma with mangosteen are pretty powerful. If you struggle with pain, mangosteen, you can just go start Googling, you guys. I'm just going to give you ways to find this information. Mangosteen and medical studies. Go start looking at the medical studies. You will want to consume this food every single day of your life. Goji. So many studies on goji. It's a berry grown in the Himalayan mountains. And these are medicinal plants and herbs and superfruits. There's no sugar in them that have been used for decades to increase people's health. And so I love to always think about, what did people use 2,000 years ago before they had the doctor? This is a powerful machine. We've just been going down this slippery slope. Goji increases libido. Do you struggle with libido? Libido is important. With an excellent family, we've made it 19 years of marriage. Tasha and Alex have made it many, many years of marriage. I think they might have me beat. You gotta have your blood flowing to all areas of your body. Goji is a powerful, powerful superfruit. And all of these things, we consume them in our family every single day. I'm 41. My husband is 44, Puerto Rican male. He went in to get a colonoscopy 3 years ago. His parents were freaking out. Oh my gosh, he's going to get a colonoscopy. Our family doesn't do well with this. There's going to be stuff. I'm like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Sure enough, clearest colonoscopy they said that they'd seen in a Latino male in years. Because we consume everything I'm talking to you about, we consume. So how do I do that? How do I get my 9-year-old, my 12-year-old, myself and my husband to consume these things every single day? When I just talked about how busy we were and how hard our life was. I worked 12 hours a day. We have found a company that for 30 years preached this philosophy of cleanse, balance, and build in a clinical practice, and utilized whole raw foods with their patients to cleanse, balance, and build their body, and had such phenomenal results that in 2008 they decided to make those whole raw foods available to the public, to find the best of the best on the planet to make it available to the public. And I was introduced to it by my brothers. And at first I was like, I'm not interested in whatever you have to share with me. But then as I started to research what the company was about, cleansing, balancing, and building, was everything I'd been learning with my nephew's autism. And I'd been researching and buying from, piecemealing our regimen together from this company and that company, driving to the health food store on the weekend. I was so, people think, oh, now there's 2 Whole Foods in Jacksonville and 2 Trader Joe's and 2 Native Sons. And you think more options makes it easier, but literally it's like walking in one of those yogurt stores where they have 150 flavors. They've got dulce de leche, cinnamon caramel, caramel iced, salted caramel, caramel and coffee. Like, can't you just give me chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry? Like, oh my gosh, people are so confused, they just want to walk right back out of a health food store. But they're going because they don't want to be put on their meds, right? They know they have high blood pressure. They know they have issues with their libido. So you know what they do? They walk into the health food store and they ask the 19-year-old who works behind the counter. The guy makes minimum wage. They ask him, what do you think I should do for my high blood pressure? I don't want to go to the doctor. He's going to put me on pills. He makes minimum wage. Don't ask him. Or then they're going searching on the internet, right? They're listening to people that they don't even know, right? You guys have built a family here in this group. You know these people. You've heard their stories. You've shared their lives. Like, I got involved in this company back in 2008. I was practicing medicine full time, and within a couple of days, saw some drastic changes. When I first got started with consuming these foods really in an easy, very pure, potent way very quickly in all of our family, I thought, well, good for me. It's kind of like ordering broccoli with your steak, right? Like, I've ordered my broccoli with my steak. I don't expect to see any changes, but good for me. I've done good tonight. That's kind of how I felt when I first started kind of putting all this nutrition in my body. I started sleeping like a rock within 3 days, and I did not sleep. My son had horrible constipation issues. He'd have 1 bowel movement a week and he'd bleed and he'd cry. Totally disappeared within 2 days. Don't ever put your children on Miralax. It's like antifreeze in a bottle. It's literally what it is. Don't do that. We tried every natural thing you could imagine. Didn't work. This worked. My husband had severe depression. The depression would be high and it'd be low, and then be high and it'd be low, and it was scary depression. Do any of you know anybody with depression? It's scary. But I'm a prescriber of medications, and those commercials, in fact, I videoed one and put it on my Facebook page the other day because I was watching it on the television. 10 seconds of benefits for an antidepressant, 42 seconds of side effects, scary side effects, and they are true. So being a prescriber, I would rather deal with my husband's scary lows than put him on one of those medications. Within about 6 weeks, my husband's crazy highs and lows, even. My boys are now 9 and 12. They've never seen that scary person. And that is an excellent family. So that was big. Then I lost 35 pounds without going to the gym. I didn't have time to go to the gym. I worked 12-hour days. To drop from a size 14 to a size 6, putting whole raw foods in my body, cleansing, balancing, and building my body the most pure, potent way you can, that was huge for me as a woman. Not as big as the depression was for me, but that was big. And then my nephew began speaking. And this is a little boy who never spoke. We had no idea what was on his mind, and all of a sudden he started speaking. And that to me was the moment when I said, I have to share this with others. Shame on me if I have dedicated my life to helping people as a healthcare provider and I don't share this with others. I couldn't share it in my practice, but I began sharing it with others. And it has been absolutely life-changing. I have now walked away from practicing medicine, and I spend my time educating people on the importance of cleansing, balancing, and building their bodies by getting pure, whole, raw foods into their bodies. The Paris family has been using these whole, raw food products for 3-4 years now, and are vigilant about it, and you see the picture of health that this family is. And so I encourage you to really think, meditate on what I've shared with you today. This is your house. You're going to live here your whole life. Don't skimp on your house. We are handing you, I'm not handing it to you. Tasha asked me to speak here tonight. The Paris family is handing you an easy way to get whole raw food nutrition in your family. I don't sell it. She doesn't sell it. We just feel so passionately about this company that we are telling you they exist. In fact, in about 3 minutes, I'm going to be doing a live presentation that will be much shorter on the company and how it works, but also doing some more education on the food itself. And so Tasha can point you in the direction of that webinar. You can get more information by going to a website, purelifechangers.com, P-U-R-E, lifechangers.com, and I'm going to be starting in 2 minutes and get educating as many people as I possibly can. I will tell you, I've reached over 25,000 people with this message in the last 8 years. I spend a couple hours a day doing it, many more people than I ever reached, seeing patients every single day, and I have helped thousands, tens of thousands get off of medications. I'm not making any claims. I'm just telling you, if you cleanse, balance, and build your body, if you give your body what it needs, it can heal itself. It's a powerful machine, and we can do it easily. You don't need to have an organic garden. You don't need to have tons of money. You don't need to be running and ordering lots of things off of lots of places. Is what you're doing working for you? What we have here can literally change lives, and I'm so passionate about it, and I know the Harris family is as well. So I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much for listening, and I just hope you think about what you're putting in your bodies and your children's bodies. They deserve good health. They deserve good nutrition, and so do you. So take care, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tasha, so much for inviting me.